What's going on, everybody? This is B. Dot here with Gridiron Orange here to talk about Sheldon Richardson and what he meant to the Cleveland Browns. In 2020, he posted 44 tackles, 15 solo, and 6 sacks and 1 fumble. Pretty good. Easily, he was our second best defensive lineman behind Myles Garrett. Closely, there was Olivier Vernon. He posted a PFF grade of 71.1. Sheldon Richardson will be missed for the Cleveland Browns. Going into 2021, we have a lot of new faces, I would say. And I think there was a plan. So I wanted to discuss the plan as to we have, of course, Myles Garrett, who is always in competition for defensive player of the year. Okay, he is great. Nothing to argue with Myles Garrett. Really good against on the edge. So there will be there won't be a lot of running on his side, especially with, tight ends having to double team and running backs having to chip. But no, we don't stop there. We add Jadeveon Clowney, one of the top 5 defensive linemen against the run, first overall pick in 2014. I would say he's just a F the play type of guy up. That's what he is, essentially. He's the type of guy who may not have the biggest stats on paper, but he's there to F the play up. Against double teams, it doesn't matter. But there comes a point of time when you cannot double team both Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. Behind them, who I think has a very sound position as a third down pass rusher against the right tackle, will be Takk McKinley, who's replacing Adrian Claiborne. Now, Takk was a first-round draft pick, just like Adrian Claiborne, but he's 7 years younger. The Browns tried to acquire him via waivers 3 times and even tried to trade for him. With that effort, with also trying to sign Clowney twice, I think the Browns really want these 2 players. There's also Porter Gustin. Now, Porter Gustin is not quite the athlete as Takk McKinley, who runs a 4.59 in the 40, but he's a effort guy. He understands that he has limited opportunities and must seize each opportunity to his fullest capacity. He had 30 tackles, 17 solo tackles, and 0 sacks. However, he was a 5-star recruit from USC and has transitioned as a sound player on a defensive line, especially after Vernon went down last year. I guess there was a projection in the 2020 last year that perhaps Chad Thomas will be that guy after having 4 sacks and 8 starts last year. The year before, in 2019. But it was Porter Gustin with his sound effort who was able to own the position. So, with that being said, drumline. All right. I guess I'm not going to say I save the best for last because that would be an indictment on Myles Garrett. However, there is the star from Boise State, Curtis Weaver, who also had a 92.4 PFF grade, who averaged that. And only him and Myles Garrett at that particular time were the only 2 defensive linemen to do so. And Curtis Weaver is a pass rush specialist, comparably to Jabal Sheard. He has wonderful hands, not the best burst, not the most athletic, I would say. but he is a sack specialist. Again, 92.4 PFF grade all around the board. It's not the greatest competition, but however, I mean, he did the job. He's very productive. So, in my opinion, the battle on the edges is perhaps Porter Gustin versus Curtis Weaver. I mean, the Browns did add him on waivers, and they had the 10th position on waivers behind Miami's 5th, who also couldn't. So there was only 8 teams or 9 teams who could claim him, and the Browns were swooped him up real quickly. He had injured his toe. He was a 5th-round draft pick in last year's draft. Very bendy player, get around the edge very well, great against the cones. I'm very excited about having him on our defensive line, and I am looking forward to seeing what Myles Garrett, okay, Tack McKinley, Jadeveon Clowney, Porter Gustin, and Curtis Weaver on the edge. Now, before further ado, let's talk about the defensive tackle position. Last year, the Cleveland Browns drafted in the 3rd round, I think it was the 88th pick, Jordan Elliott out of Missouri. Now, like another Missouri guy, a Missouri Tiger guy, Sheldon Richardson, he was very productive for the Missouri. One thing is, however, he was a 1-year starter, but he definitely posted a 90 grade against the run and pass in his 1 year. He feasted a lot on smaller competition, but he outgraded his competition in the SEC. Now, Jordan Elliott was only able to get 12 tackles, no sacks, a forced fumble, but he posted a higher grade than Larry Ogunjobi with a 55.4 grade. I love the upside of this player. He has great size, over 300 pounds. Yeah, pretty much. So, another player, Andrew Billings. Now, Andrew Billings was an opt-out from last year. I think the Browns were really anticipating on having him on our team, especially against the run. We weren't quite that well against the run. Larry Ogunjobi wasn't the biggest type of guy. And I believe that the Browns really anticipated on him being there for us last year. Well, good news is he's here this year. And he's here refreshed. You got to lose a little bit of weight, trim a little fat down, but you could do that during the season. He had a 64.4 grade. He had 35 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Very young, very athletic. I think he's 26 years old. And I think he is here to stop the run. Everybody has their particular position as to what the Browns really want him to do, whether it's the run, whether it's pass. They're really trying to take advantage of the double teams that Clowney and Myles Garrett gets because they get a lot of attention. And they want the Browns defensive line to take advantage of on their one-on-ones, especially in the middle. That way, the linebackers can roam around and do what they have to do. And actually, it's a way of funneling the running game to a specific position, area. So that's why Andrew Billings is there, because he's there to draw double teams. He's there to eat up space while the other players like Malik Jackson can eat. Speaking of Malik Jackson is a veteran who played for the Philadelphia Eagles, and also he played for the Denver Broncos. Now, between 2015 and 2018, well, he put up some of his best numbers. And I believe the Browns feel like with this with this core of players that Malik Jackson may not necessarily get the exact same numbers, but he would perform very well, and his PFF grade will definitely go up, especially after coming off that injury that he came off of. He was a little slow last year and had picked up slowly, and at the end of the season was somewhat feeling like himself. And the Browns, again, like I said, they look forward to what this defensive line surrounding him can do. That way he can do what he can do against his one-on-one. Well, there's also Malik McDowell. Now, Malik McDowell is a 25 years old who was drafted in the 2017 draft by the Seattle Seahawks. Now, he actually never played because of an ATV injury, and also he had some run-ins with the law. He actually spent some time in prison and served 11 months there while writing 3 letters to his judge. It's been a while, okay? But the 6'6", 285-pound defensive tackle has played all over the defensive line for Michigan State. He's also ran a 4.85 at that particular size. I believe positioning him similarly to a Clowney type of player, out maybe inside out type of move will be an idea for the Cleveland Browns. Or maybe you could see him being moved around as we were forced to last year for Sheldon Richardson. I think he's a player that is compared to Calais Campbell, who's also 6'6", long, rangy, big, get your hands up against the run. That's what type of player that we are adding there. And he also was a one-year type of guy who blew up. But in this rotation, each player has their own particular role, and perhaps against a different team. Each team, maybe against Baltimore, this player may serve better, or against New England, this team may serve better, or against Arizona. So many different options and so many different alignments. But these are the players and the puzzle pieces that I think the Browns are really trying to work with the Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowneys, the Tack McKinleys, the Port Augustins, and Curtis Weaver, depending on how many players that they plan on having on the defensive line. Maybe it's 10, 11, around that range. There's also within the starters, there is Jordan Elliott. There is Malik Jackson. I think that's a rotation. And there's also Andrew Billings. Behind them, there's Malik McDowell. And don't forget about Togiai from the Ohio State. Excuse me, got to fix that. He's there also, there to stop the run. I think the Browns see him as a penetrator who's there to stop the run. He also had 44 plus on the bench, so you know the man is strong as an ox. And I think the Browns looking for him to maybe sit behind Andrew Billings or learn behind Andrew Billings. He was there behind a strong defensive tackle position year after year, soaking up all that game, getting all that juice. And this is exactly what we need for the Browns, to have waves and waves on the defensive line. And I believe that Joe Woods and also Chris Kiffin is looking forward to what this defensive line can do. There's also Sheldon Day and Damian Square. I think his name is Damian Square. He's from Alabama. He's what they call a wily vet, a guy who stuck around. He signed multiple one-year deals with the San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers, and Sheldon Day played for the San Francisco 49ers. Some keys I would like to say is that Sheldon Day played for San Fran. Malik McDowell was drafted by Seattle Seahawks And there is Malik Jackson, who played for the Denver Broncos. And these are just little small details of how things kind of fit, how the puzzle kind of fit. And there are key players that the Browns specifically try to sign or draft or target. And those players are obviously Jadeveon Clowney, because they tried to give him a monster deal last year, which he turned down. But he's now a Cleveland Brown. That's water under the bridge. Then there's Takk McKinley, who they try to sign off of waivers 3 times, and then they even try to trade from in November. The Browns obviously wanted these 2 players, but there's a secret weapon. It's Curtis Weaver. The Browns signed off of waivers knowing that they got to pay this man, even though he's not going to play, and take up a roster spot for a guy who's hasn't shown nothing on the field in the NFL. So the Browns have a lot of faith in those 3 players as on our team. So with that being said, this is B. Please drop a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to posting more for you.